I'd like to officially call the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting October 11th to order. And please let the record reflect that all Planning Commissioners are in attendance. So if we would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we'll start off with public comments, and if anyone would like to address the Planning Commission, if you wish to address the Planning Commission on an item not listed on the agenda, a speaker's request form should be filed with the clerk, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any?
We do not have any.
Okay. So then we'll go to the presentation items, if we have any.
No presentation items tonight, but one item on the consent calendar, the minutes.
Great. So we had a chance to look at those, and if somebody could make a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Consent calendar.
Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Wow. And then
Okay, and then on to our public hearings. This evening, our first public hearing is a use permit to request alcohol consumption, and Jennifer Mansour has a staff report.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. This item is a use permit for the sale of alcohol at the station on the corner of Lake Forest Drive and Rockville Boulevard. This is the first use permit for a Type 21 license, which allows for the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. Other use permits have been approved for Type 20 licenses, which only allow for beer and wine. As you may recall, in June, the Planning Commission approved the demolition and the reconstruction of the Shell Station, which will include a larger food mart building, a new self-serve car wash, and 6 fuel dispensers. The existing Shell Station was issued an alcohol license in 1993. In 2015, the City Council established new requirements for retail establishments that proposed to sell alcohol. The sale of alcohol at the existing Shell Station is considered legal nonconforming because the business was issued their license prior to the 2015 regulations. However, pursuant to City Code regulations, because the site is being demolished and reconstructed, the new site needs to comply with all current zoning code requirements. Accordingly, this use permit is to allow the Shell Station operator to continue the sale of alcohol at the new food mart building at the Shell Station. This application does not include a request for a determination of public convenience or necessity, PCN, since the existing business already had an alcohol license and is not adding any new licenses to the tract. This project proposes to sell beer and wine and the distilled spirits in the new proposed food mart. The display area includes portions of the refrigerated coolers, the merchandise gondolas, and an area behind the cashier. The overall display area would comprise of less than 5% of the total floor area of the food mart. The agenda report for this item includes the Development Services and Police Services reports as required by the 2015 City Council policy. Generally, the report concludes that the use is not expected to result in any nuisance activities, will not create a need to add any police services, and would be compatible with the surrounding uses. Security provisions are proposed that include security cameras, cash registers that prompt employees to verify the age of customers, and employee training. The draft resolution includes findings required by the City Code and policy, and includes the conditions of approval recommended by Police Services. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt the resolution approving this use permit. Tonight, Sergeant Keller from the Sheriff's Department has joined us, and he's here to answer any questions about the Police Services report, and I'd be happy to answer.
So just a quick question. So essentially, the alcohol or the permit, sales permit is for?
Yes, I believe it'll be suspended in the time during construction, and then ABC will reactivate it.
So there's really no difference from before then?
It's a little larger,
Well, yeah,
but yeah, the same license.
Okay.
And this question was, upon approval of this, they would become a legal conforming business operation. It's only because the date of issuance that causes the nonconformance at this point.
Yes.
And number 8, on the indemnification, where it says that the alcohol should not be sold in containers smaller than 2 ounces. There now, are we saying that they can't do that anymore?
Yes. Right now, they have no restrictions on what they can do and how they can do it there because we don't have a use permit with conditions. And on them that they do not currently have now.
Is that, maybe this is to, I'm sorry. I lost your name.
Sergeant Keller.
Sergeant Keller. Is this a problem?
No, ma'am, and the rest of the commissioners. This is just to put us in line with the current policy adopted in 2015.
Would you see a problem with them continuing doing what they've been doing for years and years?
No,
So you think that number 8 might not be necessary?
it might not be necessary.
Okay. And then I noticed too that the singles are what, 16 ounces or less?
Right.
Do you buy singles?
Do I buy singles?
Yeah.
Like Kavanaugh all of a sudden, no, I've never bought a single.
So I think they sell singles,
I'm sure they do.
and I think that that's going to limit them from selling singles as well.
If there's a restriction on size, then yes, it will limit.
Because it's like 15.9. Do you have a problem with them continuing to sell?
Police services does not have a problem with that.
Okay. So, go lower than 2, and you can go lower than 16 without sending Sergeant, the police services in a tailspin. Thank you.
Follow up. You mentioned number 8. Isn't it number 6?
Well, I'm looking at, sorry, I am looking at alcohol should not be sold in containers smaller than 2 ounces under the indemnification on page 26.
Yeah, it should be conditions 7 and 8 is the one she's referring to.
Oh, yeah, there's 7. There's that 16-ouncer, because I think whenever I buy them, they're, is it 15-something? I'm not always buying them, but, you know.
So would we then remove that from this?
Included.
Okay. So I don't know if that, okay, we'll ask for that later, I guess, right? Yeah? Not now? Okay. Now? Are we ask for that now? No. Okay, we'll ask for that later. Anybody else have any other questions or anything?
We have several speakers.
Great.
Ahmad Gaderi.
Good evening. Thank you so much for your time. I won't take too much of your time. Staff, as I said, have done a great job. They have helped us through the process. And earlier this year, we got the approval from you guys for the permit to raise and rebuild the facility. And we're just here before you to get this approval. And the main item that we were going to be requesting is elimination of item number 7 and 8 because, you know, again, our operation is going to remain exactly the same. We're not trying to expand. We're not going from license 20 to 21. So we respectfully request your approval based on eliminating 7 and 8. And they've had a good, record. They've been at the site for a long time. And Tony and Ronnie are here, the operators. And if you have any questions, they're available. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just Tony DeHabre. Okay.
Anybody have any questions? I think we're not. We'll bring it back up here. All right, let's bring it back up here. Do we have any discussions that we want to talk about? Does this, if we eliminate 7 and 8 as requested, is this item specifically for this business, or is this for lack of a better word, an ordinance or whatever?
So it would be specifically for this business. The policy has recommended conditions of approval. None of them are required. You look at which ones you find appropriate.
Great.
Well, if no, does anybody have anything more? So I'd like to make a motion to accept staff recommendation, but deleting number 7 and number 8 on the indemnification.
And if you would close public hearing?
And I did, yes, in my mind I did it.
Yeah, okay, fine.
We'll close public hearing and
All
then
right.
go to what she said.
And I would second.
And let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, our next public hearing item is a plan sign program for a beacon sign, and this is Kurt Corey, a contract senior planner, here to give the staff report this evening.
Thank you, Gil. Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. The plan sign program before you is 0718-5198, which is a request for a beacon sign within the Target parking lot at the Foothill Ranch Town Center. The applicant is proposing a 12-foot tall beacon sign with a 1-foot 9-inch solar panel located at the very top of the sign. So the overall height of the sign will be 13 feet 9 inches. And the beacon sign is there to identify a drive-through parking area for Target's new pickup services. As a brief background, on September 13th of this year, last month, the Community Development Department approved a change plan application for the parking lot restriping and exterior paint modifications to the existing Target store. Modifications to the parking lot included changing 6 parking stalls to 4 tandem drive-through stalls and restriping of the new drive-through parking area. At a site visit today at the Target Center, that has actually been done. It has been approved. And so now what they're proposing is to place the beacon sign to identify that area. The Target Drive-Up program is a new service to assist online shoppers. Target's priority is to implement the Drive-Up program in a manner that is safe and efficient for the online shopper picking up their order, the employee delivering the merchandise, and other guests driving to the center. The proposed sign is an effective way to direct guests to the designated drive-up stalls with a clear visible signage. The reason why the applicant is requesting a plan sign program is because the sign ordinance requires a plan sign program for drive-through signage. The size of the signage is not excessive and has been placed in an area that's highly visible, not in an area that's highly visible from surrounding streets, but it's positioned internally to the parking lot and would become visible to the shoppers entering to the site. The city's design guideline encourage that drive-through elements such as posts and clearance bars for drive-through businesses, that those elements are designed to match the building through the use of similar colors, materials, textures, and finishes. In accordance with the design guidelines, the beacon sign's post is designed to match the standard red color for Target and the white lettering that matches the lettering on the Target building. With that, staff has worked with the applicant to bring the project before you. Staff has reviewed according to the code and has conditioned accordingly. Staff is in support of the project and feels that it's an addition of the proposed service that the beacon sign will assist to modernize Target to allow them to enhance their service to online shoppers in the area. With that, that concludes staff's presentation and recommendation. The applicant is in the audience, so the staff is here to answer any questions.
So excuse my ignorance, but a beacon that's lit, correct?
It will be at night, yes,
Thank you.
correct.
Thank you. Sure. Just making sure.
Is that what the panel is for?
The solar panel, correct. On the first page of your report, you'll notice right at the top, there's a small logo as well as the white that will be.
And then assuming during the day it'll be obvious and be able to be seen without lighting, obviously.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, good. Any speakers?
We do. Brian?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Brian Leung with Kimley Horn and Associates, and I am here representing Target and here for your expense to see questions about the drive-up program, how it operates, and any other questions you might have.
Why don't you give us the 2-second version of how it operates?
As of right now, a lot of Target shoppers can go online. They can order whatever merchandise they want, and they'll get an email notification that it will be ready to pick up within an hour. So as of right now, as a customer, you would actually go to the Target store, park your vehicle, walk into the store, and near the front there should be an order pickup counter. You do the transaction there, and out you go. So the purpose of this project is to kind of bring that step a little bit faster instead of having the customer leave their vehicle. Instead, what will happen is they would go on their mobile phone, go on the Target app, shop whatever items they may need, check out, same process, and they will get a email notification saying that your order will be ready in 30 minutes, 1 hour, whenever. When the customer is ready to go to the Target store, they will drive up to the shopping center and with the beacon sign, hopefully, be able to identify where especially they can park. They will pull up to these stalls, and there will be an email notification either through the app, allowing the consumer to talk to the Target store saying, hey, I'm here, I'm in an SUV, black, I'm here for my stuff. And a Target employee will come out to the store, identify the vehicle, go up to the driver window, verify that this is indeed the customer that is ordering this good, scan the app and make sure that the customer has arrived and the customer has received their goods, and that's it. So a little longer than 2 seconds, but...
Stalls are there going to be?
There's going to be 4 stalls. We're taking 6 existing stalls, and we're going to replace it with 4. There's going to be a 7-foot no parking zone to allow safe passage of Target employees to walk between vehicles. That way they're not going to be sandwiching between vehicles, and sometimes when they're carrying, we want to make sure there's enough space so that it's not too tight for them.
So is there a provision that, let's say it's Christmas time or a busy time, and they get notified that there's 20 customers and your stuff is ready at whatever it is, we've got 20 people lined up, whatever.
So that was a concern that was raised with discussions with the planning department. In our experience, based on other stores that have implemented this, the drive-up doesn't necessarily cause a queue, and these transactions are meant to be very quick and fast. On average, transactions range from about a minute to 3 minutes, and that's why we've allotted 4 stalls so that customers can come in and out very quickly. And certain items are not going to be available for drive-up pickup. So, for example, if you're buying a flat-screen TV, that might not be the best option. It's really meant for kind of these smaller items, hairspray, toilet paper, kind of items that can easily be carried by one Target employee.
So I assume at certain times of the year you'll have employees that are specifically signed that?
Yes, there are Target employees that will be trained specifically on how to operate the drive-up program.
Okay, and then they'll have maybe...
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
I'm assuming that this is going to be lit through all from dusk until dawn, because it'll be in the drive area, turned off like when it's dark.
No. So on the diagram in front of you, the portions that are only going to be light up are going to be the words drive up and that little icon on top with the trunk open.
Okay.
It's not meant to flash or be excessive. It's clearly just meant to indicate that.
Indicate and identify it.
Correct.
Visibility at night, so that would give its visibility. And that will be on during, even when the store is closed, I
believe.
Good evening. I'm curious, does this include the sale of alcohol? I'm just curious how they're going to do it.
I don't believe so. I think it's only we can get off the shelf.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Let's bring it up here. Close discussion.
Okay, there's no, any further discussion on it or anything?
Nope.
Okay. Well, then I would make a motion to close
Close.
public hearing
Let's
and recommend approval, as staff has outlined it.
I'll second that.
vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm showing that's all we have, right? Anything else? Great. Any director's comments?
Just a few. I'd like to remind the commission that November 1st is the Planning Officials Forum at the Nixon Library, so that will be very exciting. And we'll be bringing to you, we have some new employees. We actually have 3 new employees in community development. Afrouz Rashani just joined us as a management analyst, currently assigned in our code enforcement division, and she's with Nikki and with Daryl Hill up at the annual code enforcement conference in Monterey. Great addition to our staff. And then we have a new intern, Brian, who was here several times. Brian got a full-time job with the city of Newport Beach, and we've hired Jennifer Ash. Today was her second day, and now we have 3 Jennifers in the department, and she will be known as Ash. And then we've also extended an offer to Christopher McClooney, and he will be in our records division and assisting Jennifer on some of that. We generate a lot of records, and he should be with us probably in 3 weeks or so. So we'll bring some of our new members to meet the commission in the future.
Thank you. City Attorney comments?
No comment.
Great. Any comments by the commission?
I got 4. Okay. With regard to the email thing we had to sign tonight, okay, will we be receiving our packet through the city's email, or will it continue to come to our regular email, personal email account?
I will start sending it to your city email.
It will. So we
Yes.
will be required to sign into the city's email account.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. Now, since now we're receiving email on this little goodie now from the city, does that subject our personal email that may be present on this to scrutiny? They're 2 separate accounts, but they're on the same unit.
Chair and Commissioners, what the Public Records Act, it reaches into personal accounts and devices now, but only to the extent that you have public email on those devices.
Okay.
So if you're just using your new Lake Forest email account and not using your Gmail account or Yahoo account or whatever it might be for public business, then we should never,
Okay.
have an issue with the personal use of the
The
accounts.
reason why I asked, okay, my saying it is personal use does not say that there's not anything on city, and I'm just saying hypothetically, okay, then that would I would then have to turn this over, and in order to determine whether my personal email account had anything of city business on it, they would have to review it because it's on this unit.
So if I understand, these are city iPads, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, eventually, they'll need to be given back to the city.
Correct.
But to the extent, while you're on the commission, if a Public Records Act comes in and it asks for records that might be on a personal account, we would never go through your accounts. We would simply ask you and say, do you have any public emails on your personal accounts?
I would highly recommend everybody remove their personal email accounts off of these units. If we're receiving a document from that, there's no reason to subject your personal email to scrutiny. That would just mean it'd be clearer, because there'd be no reason whatsoever to be using this for your personal deal. That would be a recommendation that I would make. Okay, and that's my personal, having dealt with data processing in the past. In order to ascertain whether it is or is not, you would have to review it. So if it's not there, it takes it out of purview.
Right. So what I would say is, it is a city device. Eventually, it will be given back to the city, or for whatever reason, the city could ask for it back. If the policy changed, right? Policies are subject to change, and whatever's on the device when the city gets it back, the city has the ability to look at it. But at no point during the course of a Public Records Act request would the city try to ask you for your accounts, your passwords, or anything of that nature. If we get a Public Records Act request that asks for a search on personal devices, we'd simply ask you, can you check your personal accounts and devices to see if you have public records?
Okay. Remove it.
Other than the agendas.
You're not on.
Other than the agendas that are sent to our personal accounts.
So, won't the agendas now, Jennifer, be sent to the
To the
public
email account.
accounts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the agendas, from what I understand, are now going to go to the public Lake Forest accounts.
So all of our information is sent to us, correspondence from
Okay, so
from
does,
Jennifer will come to our city email account.
so I'm going to have to open up the city email account on a daily basis to see if Jennifer is contacting me or Gail is contacting me? Or can I have the city email address forwarded to my Gmail account?
You just, the way, and I had Patrick set it up for me, you just go to hit the mail thing, and it has, you've got your personal one, it says, and then it's got what they call exchange. And it'll show you if you have any on there, so you hit the exchange, and then it has your city email. You can hit your personal one, and it has just your personal one. So you don't need to log on to anything. It's already set up that way, if that's what you want. So.
Well, I don't use my city iPad. I have my own iPad, and I have several email addresses for different businesses. So maybe I should chat with you later, because I don't want to open up 4 different email addresses. I only open up one right now, and I get from 4 different emails. Can I forward the city address to my Gmail account, which houses them all? And then if you want my city issue iPad that has everything that you have on it, it would just have that on it, because you would only have access to that particular city email on the iPad.
Commissioner Fuentes, I'm going to back up a little bit. So what we're talking about is a California Supreme Court case that came out last year. I'm not sure if everyone's heard of it, but for everyone's benefit, it's the San Jose versus Superior Court case. And it was kind of a landmark case in the Public Records Act world. And what the court held was, it doesn't matter where public records are. It could be in your car, it could be on your Gmail account, it could be in your text messages. If there are public records on an account, whether it's personal or public, the public should have access to it. And so it kind of opened this whole brand new world for public agencies and in terms of public records. So after that decision came out last year, we've been getting Public Records Act requests across all of our client cities where people are saying, I want these particular records about a development project, and I want everyone to check their personal accounts and records to see if they have public records. And so we've been getting more and more of those requests. And so the case is that, the agency has no obligation to get into your accounts, look at your devices, but simply once we get a request, the agency gets a request, the city's obligation is to ask you, do you have public records on your personal accounts? And so what we're encouraging our clients to do is to stop using their personal accounts and gravitate more towards using the public accounts, because simply if there's no public documents on your personal accounts, then you never really even have to search.
Well, if I have my Lake Forest City iPad, and everything that I do with the City of Lake Forest goes into that email address, duplicates can be sent to my other devices, and they're just duplicates.
Right.
But if I respond, they're not really necessarily responding
Right.
on the old
Yes.
one. Okay.
It gets
so,
a little bit messy.
So I'm going to have to open up 2 emails a day, is what you're telling me.
That's what you do.
Well, I don't use
yeah.
that, so that you're.
My concern is, and I don't think the city is ever involved with any confidential materials. However, there could be correspondence from the city that could be confidential in nature, and that's where this is stemming from, okay, that you would not have others subject to purview. All right, so in that regard, just think of, well, what's her name, Hillary Clinton and her little fiasco about using personal account on a business machine. Okay, it just raises concern. So if you can separate it, that would be my suggestion. I'm going to leave it with that. My other item is, once again, there are lights out in Pittsford Park. Okay, I'm curious. I shouldn't be the one that has to tell people if the lights are out. I know there's maintenance personnel that go in there after dark, and as a routine matter in all the parks as they're going through, as they take down the trash, they ought to have a checklist. Is the lighting in that facility correct? Turn that in at the end of their shift whenever they come back, and it's a work order. And that's the only way we're going to keep those security lights monitored, and it should be done just as a part of a normal maintenance routine for the park. I'll leave it at that, but there's 3 lights out in the park.
We'll pass that along
If you
to
would.
Public Works, and the maintenance personnel are not city employees, so we've contracted with someone.
I
and then
wasn't
they're,
sure what that was.
So we'll find a way to
Do that.
bring it to the surface.
The other item, I've had 2 street lights that have been out for almost 2 years now. I called Southern California Edison and had them turn the one on, which they did. The other light that is immediately across the street from it, which is at Pittsford and Elmcrest, is located on one of our little cellular towers that looks like a street light. Okay, it's not on. Now, I need to know if it's a street light and a functional light, it should be operational. It is not. That's at Pittsford and Elmcrest. And we'll be getting more of those as cellulars come through and they're part of that lighting type thing. And the other thing is, I know, Gail, you're probably aware of this, and I just like to be kept apprised of it. That's the parking issue on Pittsford. The Arbor has changed their parking criteria, I believe. They're charging for parking spaces. It's driven 150 cars out onto Pittsford. And Dow and I were talking about it a little earlier. I think that necessitates, and it's probably within your purview, Gail, that the use permit that was established at the time that the apartments were constructed was based on the parking being adequate inside. I've gone up there. 90% of their curb is all painted red. I don't believe the city went up there and painted fire lanes in there, so I think that's in violation of their use permit. And if they're charging for parking stalls, once again, I believe that's in violation of their use permit, and it probably should come back to the commission.
It's actually a violation of the city's municipal code, and the parking code says you cannot charge or lease for any parking spaces that are required by code. So this has become, we've seen this, and we've actually sent out mailings to all apartment complexes in town, but we do have a special group. We call ourselves the PMAC, and we do nothing but deal with parking problems, so this is definitely on our radar. We've contacted the management. We had Doug Anderson go out and take a look inside the complex, so we've received several complaints. We have a process that we go through. Right now, we're investigating it, and this is one that we'll follow up with the management company, and potentially they could receive citations from the city.
And I want to thank Dave for going out and indicating they're going to, the line of sights at all the intersections have been greatly diminished, and they're going to be painting the curb. So just pass on a thank you to him, if you would, for me. That's it.
As a follow-up to earlier discussion, I think in 3.5 years, I have not gotten an email from anybody.
Poor thing.
Well, thank goodness. regarding city business or anything. If it's possible, can you just send me a copy to my Gmail account for the agenda? I can't see the agenda being, a copy of the agenda being controversial.
How do you get the agenda ahead of time?
Ahead of time?
But if it goes to your personal email, then if somebody subpoenas that, you have to turn over your personal email, and they can look at all your personal email stuff. If it's on the city one, all you have to say is, no, there's no city business on my personal email. Here's the city email thing that nothing's on, or just the agenda.
Okay, so
That's, I think,
receiving an agenda is, okay. So,
You never hear from Jennifer?
yeah, I do. Yeah, on my personal, yeah, she sends me the agenda.
You
No,
just
she
said
sends,
you don't ever get any emails.
I don't get any from the city emails.
Jennifer's
Or-
from the city.
Feel better?
Well, I don't know. You say no, you didn't get any, and I think you did.
Well, Commissioners, what Gil and I were just talking about was maybe at some point in the next few meetings or next couple months, maybe we'll do a refresher on Brown Act and Public Records Act, and we can give a more in-depth briefing on San Jose. It's an actually really interesting case, and we've had about a year to deal with it with the various cities, and so we've learned a lot. And I agree, you know, there's agendas that may go to personal accounts, and usually that's not a big deal. But, you know, even correspondence from residents and applicants and things like that, that would be considered public business. And so to the extent we get a Public Records Act request and it asks for those type of things, then we would relay the request to you. We would not be going into emails, text messages, those type of things. It's just simply we would ask you if you had public records.
I have a question with regard to that. Even on our personal account, if we are discussing city business, does that not then bring it under the, because if you ask me if I've been conducting city business on my personal account, I would definitely say I have not. But if I were, that would then be subject. They would come out and be able to gather that if in fact I had been discussing any of that stuff either through staff or attorney or whomever, then even though it was on my personal, that could be construed as being city property.
So that would not be construed as city property. It wouldn't turn your device or turn your account.
Wouldn't turn my device,
right.
but the information is.
So,
related.
one, we would just ask you if you
Right.
had public documents on your personal account, and then the case actually goes into how you would decide whether a document is public or private, and there's different factors that the court looks at. It's not a bright line of these are automatically public, these are automatically private. So there's some detail in that case.
and I will adjourn the meeting to the next regularly scheduled meeting of November 8th.